At the moment, the Commission is not listening to trade unions or social movements. The Council is not interested in alternatives. The European Union is being set on a neoliberal course, and it will take quite a lot to change that. There are a number of European alternatives on its way. There are loads of small and medium-sized grassroots initiatives, cross-border initiatives, but we're very, very far from having an impact on Brussels. However, I think that the system that is being set up, the system of economic governance that includes the six-pack, the Euro-pack, the European semester, the loan packages and so forth, they are about to create a Europe where a very, very large number of millions of people will, in the medium term, see only one thing coming from Brussels: imposition of austerity measures, push for labor reforms, and Brussels will not be listening the other way. I think that is potentially explosive. In just a few years, I think we will have a quite very different debate on the European Union. And I hope that what will come out of that is a strong progressive response.
If we think in terms of alternative for Europe, in fact, it's also alternative for capitalism. Today, I agree, it's a crisis of capitalism. I would say it's a crisis of finance-led capitalism. This is why we have to focus, if we think in terms of alternative and radical changes, we have to focus on finance. We have to reduce to the power of finance. In attack, we use the word disarm the financial markets. In other words, today, we can see very well that the corporations, governments, banks are under the pressure of markets, and government lost the capacity to reform the financial system. We can see that since the beginning of the crisis, no significant financial reform has been put on the way, and even Europe is going backward with respect to the UK and with respect to the US. So we have really we need a radical change to reduce the domination of finance. This means what? This means to forbid, for instance, speculative instruments like CDS, to forbid highly leveraged institutions like hedge funds, to close down offshore centers, to impose taxation on financial transactions, not what is decided by the Commission, the FTT directive, which doesn't go very far, but really financial transaction taxation, which fights speculation.
I think we're on the cusp of the most gigantic crisis in the history of capitalism. Make no mistake about it. This could turn out to be far bigger than the 30s, right? Because of how it's evolved and because of how it's been handled the last 2, 3, 4 years. This could turn out to be the crisis, the mother of all crises, if it develops. Now, Europe will be at the heart of it, and the European banks will be at the heart of it. I think the moment is now past for half-hearted, half-baked solutions. Really, if you ask me, I suspect that the only solution at the level of Europe as a whole is to nationalize the banking system across the board. I think we've reached that stage where European banks, if such a thing exists, have to come under public control. We need public banks. Private banking, in the form in which we've experienced in the last 2, 3 decades, has failed, and failed systemically and totally. We need public banks, and we need them in order to rescue the situation, because we're heading towards the abyss, and we need it in order to put the European economy on a different footing. How that might happen, I've got no idea, because obviously there'll be massive social and political unrest as this happens, but that might also allow Europe to begin to adopt different strategies for growth, away from favoring the interests of private capital, for pushing wages down, for insisting on flexibility of labor. All these tired and exhausted ideas of the 80s and the 90s that have delivered very little and are obviously completely inadequate in the face of the crisis that this continent faces, and then, of course, the world as a whole. Can we do it? I hope we can. But it will not be because of the efforts of the the Commission and so on. It will be because of forces that will emerge from below, from forces spontaneous forces of working people and others.